how much of a chance does Toyota have to survive? So let's dig into this a little bit. Toyota explores manual transmission for modern EVs in new patents. Okay. So this is SpaceX engine version 1. See a lot of parts, and it has 185 tons of power, whereas VR1 has about 20% more power and obviously is lighter and has less parts. Why does Toyota want to add a transmission into electric vehicles? This makes no sense. Okay, maybe if you add a transmission, the motor can last longer because it doesn't spin at crazy high RPMs. Maybe that's why they are adding the transmission, right? Okay, fair, but then how do you explain this, that Tesla's motors can last basically 1 million miles? Now, I know there hasn't really been any vehicles with 1 million miles, but we have vehicles with hundreds of thousands of miles, and the motors just do not break. And if they do break, it's quite cheap to replace them. Probably the transmission would be similar. Also, read this. Industrial electric motors of even more primitive designs are used in things like pumping stations where they run 24/7 for 30 to 50 years. 4 out of 10 light vehicles produced worldwide are still equipped with manual transmissions. Meanwhile, automatic cars represent only around 34% of a global share, which is usually in countries where gasoline is extremely expensive, like twice as expensive as in the US. US has extremely cheap gasoline prices, although when I talk to my friends from US, they complain, oh, gas prices are through the roof, it's so expensive. Yeah, and then look at Italy, Germany, anywhere in Europe, Asia, it's like double the price. That is expensive. And guess what? Manual transmissions historically typically consume a little bit less gas, and it's a little bit cheaper also. So when you're spending that much more on gas, you will sort of be forced to pick manual transmission, even though it's inconvenient and it's a headache, especially if you are in a city traffic, bumper to bumper traffic. That's the worst, to be in a manual transmission. You're always working that clutch. It's a headache, nightmare. No one likes driving that manual transmission when they're stuck in that traffic. So you only buy that in the absolute majority of cases if you don't have enough money to buy an automatic one. So pursuing a manual transmission here for Toyota, what's the word? Stupid is the word. Not smart is the word. Not very thoughtful would be another one that would come to my mind. And it's not just Toyota. For example, Honda is planning to have 40% of all the new vehicles sold electric by 2030. Now let me explain why that's a bad idea. You want to do that much more faster because with every single new electrical vehicle on the market, your margins shrink, your profits shrink from your ICE business, internal combustion engine business. And the moment it makes much more sense to buy an electric vehicle over an internal combustion vehicle, no one is going to want internal combustion anymore. The only people that will want it will be the ones that just do not have a place to charge it. But with superchargers being much more widely available and the new batteries being charged much more faster, and also the new technologies that make the battery not deteriorate as much over time, everyone will be able to go to a supercharger by 2030 probably and charge the battery super quickly. It will be just as much effort as internal combustion engine car, probably, most likely. So in my opinion, a statement like that, which is true for most legacy automakers, when they plan to transition only about half of the vehicles sold by 2030 to electric, what that says is we are declaring bankruptcy by 2030. I wish they were kidding. Now you might say, but Matt, how about people that live in apartments? They can't charge their cars. If you live in an apartment, how do you charge the car? Well, when you park your car, as long as you park inside, if there is a light bulb anywhere, you just get an extension cord basically, and you just plug it in. It's quite easy. It's not a hard job to do that. Now, I don't literally mean get an extension cord, although you can definitely do that. I mean, installing a charger is not going to be difficult because it's like putting in a regular electrical outlet that can be used by like a light bulb or something. It's pretty simple to do. And if you notice, on city streets, there are lights everywhere. How do we do that? If we can do that, why can't we add a charger for parking slots? It's not that hard to do. And most apartments come with dedicated parking slots anyway, so those are definitely very easy. But if you park outside, I admit that is a little bit harder. So there is going to be a little bit of a market still left by 2030, but it's going to be so tiny and it's going to shrink so fast. So all of these legacy automakers, they have to go through this transition where their profit margins are shrinking, they're losing all their revenue, and they have to invest more money than ever before into technologies that they do not understand and are not good at. That is why I think they're going to have a hard time and most of them will go bankrupt, whereas Tesla is well positioned to have the best battery technology, charging stations, and everything to make this transition. That's why I think they'll sell more cars than anyone else by far, even if they make cars with suspensions that are extremely stiff, which is my main complaint with Tesla cars right now. At least for Model 3 and Y. Model S and X, very fine for my taste. Most people don't care about that. Most people that drive, I have a Model 3 here, and most people that drive that car, they don't care about the stiff suspension. I'm more picky, so that's why I would care more. But most buyers are not like me. They just care how good is the car, what's the value of the car, and how much range does it have, and how fast does it charge. That's what most people care about. And then later, they will all care about full self-driving. Ford would rival Tesla in EV demand right now if it was producing enough electric vehicles. I'm sorry, I just can't hold myself here. But it's not producing enough vehicles. Why? Because this hard is difficult. And you let Tesla scale up a production already. It's so hard to catch up. Now, if that wasn't enough, let me show you something really funny here. Tesla's capex stood at 1.3 billion, about a tenth of Toyota's $14 billion in 2019. How can Tesla spend so much less money on capital expenditures and yet still be so much far ahead in electric vehicles than Toyota? Well, maybe if Toyota and all other legacy automakers stopped doing stupid things like focusing their attention on manual transmissions for electric cars, which are clearly not needed, then maybe, just maybe, they wouldn't need to spend so much money on capital expenditures. This is sad and really hilarious as well. Why am I using 2019 numbers? Because Toyota is still far behind of Tesla in 2021 compared to where Tesla was in 2019. That's why.